Well, question for you. So, with that being said, it's almost like skills. A lot of skills are transferable, right? Like boxing, learning how to turn your shoulders helps you swing a baseball bat, and that helps me with my golf swing, and that helps me. Like, if stuff spills into other things, if a newer trainer was looking to get into behavior, right, dog psychology, are there things either in dog training or not in dog training that you would recommend them learn a little about because those skill sets will transfer?
Yeah, any sort of grappling martial art of any sort where you're using body position and weight, even if you're not touching a dog, every ounce of your body weight is being
connected. Yeah.
Well,
Right.
the dog is interpreting it, right? And where your feet are facing, the dog is interpreting it. Every single thing about you, whether you're breathing, whether you're not breathing. If you're not breathing, and the context is, I think you're a threat, then I think that you're getting ready to attack. But if you're not breathing, and the context is, we're in an open field, the context is you're using your nose. You're not breathing. You're bringing in a scent. The same thing applies with getting ready to pounce and play. But if I'm getting ready to pounce and play on a dog who thinks that I'm going to pounce and kill, you see, so interpreting what dogs do is and what they're doing is very, very important. I might start with just learning the emotions of dogs, and the body language is after that. That's in the intentions. So once there's an emotion, you can see how they feel, and then what they do with that feeling is going to tell you what's about to happen. And that's
because not every dog is the same, right? Like the same body language doesn't always lead to the same.
They all have the same
intention.
things that they do for different reasons. A dog that jumps on you and kisses your face, the same physical action as a dog who's going to jump on you and bite your face. It's just a different intention.
Yeah.
So that in that alone, they're limited.
Yeah.
And when they're limited, then that means you can take advantage. Knowing what the dog can't do is your advantage. And I know everything a dog can't do, and it's a secret, so they can't possibly know. I use opposition reflex. That's the main portion of my pressure matrix is opposition reflex. People don't understand opposition reflex. They just think it's when a dog's pulling you and you're pulling on a leash. It's called opposition reflex. So any fucking angle, push on the dog's side, he's going to lean into it. So that's why grappling is a really good
that's
skill.
That's a good. Do you do any kind of grappling yourself?
I did Wing Chun for a lot of times. That's where I used to call what I do with the dogs canine kung fu, and almost all of my leash movements and technical parts of it are from my Wing Chun. So you mentioned earlier technical aspects to technique, but you lumped it in as one. People take a technique and don't understand that it takes this many parts or sequences to get that one technique, and so they undercompensate because they don't have enough knowledge, and so then they create the problem that they're trying to correct.
It feels like driving. It feels like when you learn how to drive an automatic car, not like a manual, it requires so much of your brain power. Like these people are so focused, mirrors and hand placement on the steering wheel, and it's just their cup is so full that they can't intake other information while they're at it. And as they get more comfortable and these things become less like you don't have to think about it. It's just kind of more muscle memory at that point. Now
if you have to think about it, you're too late.
Right. And now you're free to do other stuff, right? So like it's the same thing with grappling, because I know what you mean, how like it's very reactionary. My leg hook is whatever, and this dude moves like this, so I move like this just because I feel his pressure going this way. So like it's hard to even explain, so I won't bother.
Well, you said that guy, that instructor guy was giving you things so that he could get into it. Yes.
Right. So and without saying it, without saying
if I'm going to go for this and you think it and you put all your eggs into that basket and I let go of it and get this other thing.
But it's the fascinating push and pull because he's giving it to me. I can feel it, but it's not like he's telling me. I can feel if I'm right. I can feel, of course, right. So I can feel, let's say, like I'm pulling on the arm, and I can feel this guy who's also bigger than me on top of being better. I can feel him resisting, and I can feel like, all right, this may work, but like at what cost? I'm gonna be so tired I can't finish it even if I get it. And then I can feel him let go, and I'm like, okay. So so like there's a lot of information that's being passed around, even though nothing's being said. So it is fascinating how that kind of stuff works. And my question to you, and then we wanted to get into the your 10 rules if we could. My question to you is, how do you take this? Like, how do you take this level of feeling for people and kind of build it in others? Like, if you had a new trainer coming to learn from you, you have these peripheral skill sets, not just the way you grew up, but the training in the Marine Corps and all the training you've done with Caesar and the experience of training trainers. I'm sure that's taught you a lot too, right? Life in general. So, like, is there a certain sequence that you try to make it make sense to them according to their life? Do you make analogies that you think would make sense to them, or do you just kind of give it to them how you learned it?
Well, I don't have enough time with students anymore because my course, when I started it, was 30 days long, 7 days a week, 15-hour days. The whole point was to overwhelm you so you stop thinking about other things, and the only thing you can think about was what I was putting in you. And then again, nobody wants to, and people were doing it left and right, the 30 days. But then, like I said, somebody got their wisdom teeth pulled, so they started a shop and started teaching. So and then it went to 5 days, 3 to 5 days. And you can't learn anything in 3 to 5 days. So I had to stop. And so now I do the traveling shadow program. I go and spend 5 days. I'll show some stuff, but I tell them, there's no way you can learn this in 5 days. There's no way I'm still learning it myself, but you got to let go. You got to let go. And the biggest part is the resistance that people have. And with Wing Chun is you don't resist. You stick with what comes, follow as it retreats, and tack upon a disengagement. So you are a cork on water. And so when a dog starts to pull, the human immediately starts to pull. Well, if the dog starts to pull, I already know where he's going to pull, what he's going to do when he's going to pull, how to pull. So now I know where my position needs to be. Everything I do is in angles, grappling and the angles. So where you guys are grappling and using some strength, I'll grapple and use little strength because I'm doing the angles, and it was very difficult to teach me to stop resisting. I just got to be dead. That's why some of my videos, I don't even know if I'll put them up on that site. I probably will, but you see me get bit and the dog lets go of my arm because there's nothing there.
You're not fighting.
I'm not fighting. As soon as you pull, opposition reflex kicks in,
and the dog bites
and
down.
It the predator starts to pull. Duck hunting dogs will bring back a live duck many times because the duck isn't fighting, and they drop it on the ground and it flies away. So you can't get people to say, well, you got to stop resisting. Oh, and while the dog has your arm in his mouth. So psychologically, people can't really get there. So I have to do other things. That's why the pressure matrix is one thing. The elements of structure and the 10 rules to live by are offsprings. So it's easier for people to understand the elements of structure and the 10 rules to live by. When they get that, then they'll understand the pressure matrix that much quicker.
It's the advanced class.
So,
so let's
even with my 10 rules.
Go ahead.
What's
that?
Go ahead.
Well,
so even my 10 rules, I've got 10 rules that are in a row, but I've been doing it for so long. It's only recently come to me. It's always been there because I have stuff in my head that I can't seem to get out of my mouth. And it takes time to come out. There's only one lane and everybody's fighting to get in. And sometimes the ones that fight the most get up to the jump off the tongue and then they don't want to go and then block the jam. So it takes a long time. But now I've learned over the last several months that while it is 1 through 10, you really want to start at rule number 10 and become rule number 1. And it's whatever the situation is, what's the first thing that pops out? That's the rule that pops out that's being broken or followed or what you need to do. Then work your way where you need to be.
So let's do this. Let's take a break for a little commercial break, and we're going to come back and let's break down those 10 rules, not in 100% detail, But,
no, I can't.
Yeah, you can't. We don't got enough time.
Okay. Might even be something. Might even be something you want to do on a second podcast.
Right. All right, we'll take a little commercial break. Hey guys, it's Brent with the Dog Trainers Podcast. Now, did you guys know that if you leave us a review, it's easier for people to find us on their podcast platforms? So please go ahead and leave us a review on whatever podcast platform you're on. We'd really appreciate it. And now let's get back to the show.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Again, we are interviewing Mr. Linn Boyke. I got it right that time. And we wanted to dive into your 10 rules and learn a little bit more about those, maybe learn a bit about your shadow program and go from there.
Okay. Well, which do you want to learn first?
So let's go with the 10 rules.
Let's go into the 10 rules. Yeah, let's go into the 10 rules. So we have 10 rules. Number one we already got was always be in control.
Those are your ABCs. Mm-hmm. So everything I do is specific, kind of quirky because of my, thing. So as we go, you'll see. So rule number one is your ABCs. Mm-hmm. Always be in control. You do want to be in control of your environment. You do want to be in control of the situation. You do want to be in control of as much as you can, the schedule, everything. This applies in so many aspects. But the only thing you can really control is yourself. And that's the one you want to master first, self-control. But rule number one is also your goal rule, your purpose rule. Mm-hmm. You see, what's my purpose? Because I need to be in control of that. So
right.
Rule number two is if you're not sure, make sure by following rule number one. Mm-hmm. And that rule is one of the most important ones. All of these rules, by the way, are built and designed based off of my success and failures in life. Some of them, they're exactly me. So if I just follow these rules, I'd be a higher level of success. I mean, the whole point of the rules is if you know the rules and you choose not to follow the rule, you know the consequence, and then you have a second chance to follow the rule, and you choose not to follow the rule, then you have to accept if the consequence comes. You can't complain because you knew. All right. So that's the whole point. I'm Woody Woodpecker. I resist. I have authority issues. So rules, as long as I know the rule and I don't want to do it, then I'm all right with it. I choose not to do it, and the consequence is mine. All right. So rule number two is a very, 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 very important rule, and it applies in so many aspects. As soon as you say, well, I don't know, well, you better find what you do know. You know what I mean? At that moment, there's a great scene in one of the Bourne Legacy, right? Yeah, and they're at this mountain house, and they goes, do you hear that? You hear that? First of all, that immediately is a rule number 9, but we're only going to focus on the one rule. And they're like, are you expecting a shipment in today? No, not in this weather. We can't. Besides, they came yesterday. You hear it though, right? Yeah, it's getting closer. And at the same time, they go, I don't know. And then boom, they immediately go into taking control. He's going to get into this tree. He's going to go over here and mount up security.
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, it's an amazing rule number 2. All right. Yeah. So rule number 3 is 1, 2, follow through, or no one will fucking believe you. Okay. So, and that's a quirky thing. It had to be rule number 3 because 1, 2, follow through.
Right.
Now in baseball, you got 3 strikes, you're out. In the police, they ask you, they tell you, they make you. So it's very important to not waste any time. Whatever it is that needs to be done. Oh man, this girl's hot. It's our first date. I want to kiss her. 1, 2, kiss. Even when they're going to jump out of a building or jump off of a bomb and lethal weapon. Okay, on 3. You see 1 all these things.
And 2.
Yeah. So
awesome.
You just do it. So if I ask a dog to come to me, I'm not going to ask him 5 more times. I'm already on my way to the dog. Right. And if at that moment he recognizes that I'm there, which is what I want, because 60% of his brain is on through the nose. If he's smelling something, me saying, Tuffy, come here, sounds more like Tuffy, come here.
Yeah.
Right. Because she can't hear. Right. So as soon as my presence is known and she looks up at me, I didn't know you wanted something. I might offer a 1 again, come to me. But if they don't come, I'm following through every single time, or no one will believe you. And this can be applied in every aspect of life. So rule number 4 is be decisive. All right. Any hesitation will always be seen as weakness, and it will always invite or draw unwanted attention. Okay. Every time I see trainers, thinking about going into grit, well, now you become prey. You are going to get bit. I always say too.
What was the second part? You said any hesitation will always be seen
attract
as
unwanted attention.
And attract.
Any hesitation will always be seen as weakness, and it will invite or draw unwanted attention.
Got it.
And so when you're 16 and you're sneaking into your house and you're trying to go undetected and you hit that board and it goes creak, well, you're drawing all this attention to yourself, right? Everybody wakes up. All right. So that was, decisive. It's very important. You see the rules coming up to being decisive, but when we go back the other way, in order for me to be decisive, sometimes I have to 1, 2 follow through. Sometimes I don't know what to do, so I have to follow rule number 1, and I'm going to use rule number 4 to do that. Okay.
Right.
So rule number 5 is, what would Goldilocks do? Do you know the story of Goldilocks and the 3 bears?
Yeah, just right.
Too hot,
Which
too
porridge
cold,
did she eat?
Right.
That's right.
Just
Which
right.
bed did she sleep in?
Just right.
That's right. So when people are trying to work with a dog and it's not working for them, their porridge is too fucking hot. They're too close to the source, and they don't have enough skill or enough experience on how to change things right there. So they start to do things harder and faster, which then either suppresses the dog or confuses the dog or makes the dog react on you. And then we get more mad at the dog and do other things because they're reacting, all based on your inability. So you move 5 feet further down the road and it's just right. I can now end the conversation with the dog with I know, you just have to wait. I want to end everything the way I want it to begin. So if I can't do it here, it's too hot. If I do it around the corner and the dog isn't reacting or doesn't even know about the thing that it was doing anymore, I'm too far away. The porridge is too cold. I want to end where I do just enough work where I am seen as the one controlling the environment, controlling the situation, and I have a cooperative audience. I am always just right wherever I am. I want the dog to understand that. And you can look at any video and see people in the too hot porridge all the time. Yeah. And it's simple rule, and it's rule number 5, and it's in the middle.
Love it.
Just
I love
right.
It. That's perfect.
And so it's rule number 6 literally should be rule number Linn Boyke, because it is emotional arousal and excitement lead to disregard. And these sound more like statements sometimes, but if we put it in a situation, you can see that emotion that's being expressed has made the person disregard the respect for their wife, their employer, or the law on the street. Wow, excitement is so the same thing when you get a little drunk at the game and we disregard. I'm going to fight you, but I'm disregarding the grandmother that's sitting next to you. Right. I'm disregarding that I'm on probation, or I'm disregarding that I'm on TV, or I have a specific personality that can't get in trouble. Right. Emotional arousal and excitement lead to disregard, and it's one of the most important rules. Rule number 7 is always be ahead of the behavior, because once you know, how can you not know? Right. That rule right there. All of my rules are the most important rules.
If you can predict it, you can control it or change influence it.
So I know that when I drink whiskey, I act like this. And when I act like this, it scares people. When people get scared, I get offended by that scare and I try to fix it. And they're still more scared. I know the sequence of things. All by drinking too much whiskey. So if I know that tonight, everybody wants me to drink whiskey. Come on, Boyke. Because they know they want that sequence to happen. Right. I can't. Right. Or I can. If I do it, it's because I failed rule number 6, and I've emotionally arousal and excitement led to disregarding what I know.
And rule number 1.
And rule number 1.
Rule number 1 is you're way out of control. So rule number 8, the pattern you set is the pattern you get. Okay, and this is critical in everything you do. with the dog, without the dog, with your timing, everything. So I won't say anything. There's more how rule number 8 works with all the other rules. Rule number 9, when something's new and different, everything is new and different until that thing becomes normal.
Right.
We just don't want that new normal pattern to be in the negative. Okay. So imagine I never use my front door. Every now and then I have to go up to there to get a package or something. There's spider webs. I'm like, I never use my front door. I always go through the garage. If I pull up into my parking in my driveway and hit the garage and I notice my front door is open, nothing is going to be the same. All right. And everything I do from that point on is completely different until it's done. Now, if in that time I'm a single woman and I get raped, and now my new pattern in life is to not trust anybody or anything, right? If I go in there and somebody's robbing me and then they try to stab me and I shoot them, now I got to go through all this court to make sure it was a legal shot. And there's nothing is the same until it is. If while we're talking, if you were in this room and a car crashes out front, we walk up there, it just stopped everything we were doing. We walk over and talk about it. However long that stays in our brain is new and different, right?
Until you get used to it.
So if I got a pattern, if a client tells me that what's wrong with the dog, and I point out that it's pattern, in order to make a new pattern, we have to make things new and different.
It's like crate training is like a classic example. Like crate training a dog who's never been crate trained.
Well, everything is new and different for sure when you put it in there. But if you don't know how to crate train a dog, you can have the negative
association
to it because it's traumatic.
Yeah.
So rule number 10 is plan the actions you will take action the way you planned. Right? Very simple. That's why.
Plan the actions you will take
and take actions the way you planned.
That's right. So when you watch if you get on there and you watch my footage, because the edited videos, I have to cut out a lot of stuff. I literally am telling you everything that is going to happen, when it's going to happen, why it's going to happen, and this is what I'm going to do when it happens. So that's literally me being ahead of the behavior, but also telling them what I'm going to do is the plan. So let's say we're not jumping into a situation. We just want a goal. We want to go on a vacation. So that's our rule number 1. We want to be in control of vacation. So we start at rule number 10 and we plan those actions. Now, how we use rule number 10 is we look at all the other rules down here as offices that have, let's go to the Intel office down there and see, what do we know? What do we know? Pattern. So that way we can always be ahead of the behavior in rule number 7. And then we understand that, we're going to Hawaii and these things are, we got to be mindful of our emotions. You see, all the way down. How can we have fun without disregarding? Well, we Goldilocks that shit and we make sure that we only drink beer instead of liquor. You see, I'm just all the way down. If somebody's a team with you and they're not using rule number 4 to be decisive and allow me to skip Goldilocks, then everything goes to shit. You see how it can.
It's a system that works together in different like contexts.
Yeah, and what's important is to learn the rules in their natural habitat. You can see, that guy's emotional arousal and excitement. Now, see what happened. His wife is yelling now too. So you can see it when it's happening. You can also see emotional arousal and excitement about to happen, and you see the other one say, "It's okay."
Right.
Yeah.
So you see it being broken, but you see the other one utilizing it to come down to Goldilocks.
And it's fascinating to see the other one recognize it, which is how they know to start slowing it down. Yeah,
that's right. And so that once you learn how they're broken and how they're followed in natural life, then you want to see how you can utilize that, because people can trigger me easily. They can get me emotionally aroused. It's no secret on things that they can trigger me, but I'm pretty good at self-control now. But if I know I want something from you, I'm going to learn everything about you. I'm going to go to the department rule number 8 and rule number 7, see what I know and what you do. And now I know that this is part of what you do. I need you to believe this is happening, because this other thing is what I want from you. I need you to believe that there is a dog on the other side of this fence so that I can teach you how to behave when we pass dogs. You see what I mean? So I know my dog reacts this way. I know there are dogs this way. I know the distance. You just really, it is the pressure matrix without using pressure.
Well, you play the game,